Alright, so let's get into the box. Now, get everybody, thanks for stopping by. Today's video is going to be a look at some lights that have been sent out to me by Novsight. These were sent out to me for the purpose of review. I'm pretty keen to get a look at these. These are a little bit more upmarket than some of the stuff that I would normally get. So I want to get those K-lights off, and you'll see in just a second why. And I still want to have some auxiliary lights on that Commodore. The reason is I just think these are a really nice sort of looking light. And look, I think I honestly say that about all the lights I pull out. I really like the design on these. They look a little bit Batman-ish. And these seem, at this point, to be sort of a step above the other lights that I've had here. So I'm hoping that that's going to prove the case once I've got them installed and turn them on. There's not a lot of reviews of this Novsight stuff. There's a handful of reviews on there, and they all seem to be fairly positive. But as you guys know, trust YouTube reviews with a grain of salt, especially when they're sent out to people for free, for reviews, hoping that these are going to provide the additional light on the side of the road, as well as additional throw down the road, based on the fact that they are a driving light. It does come with a harness, and it is wired to a relay. Now, similar to the K-lights that we threw on, the Novsight lights here and the harness looks to be very similar in that they come pre-wired with a relay, and on that relay you literally just have two inputs. You have your power negative, power positive. So just literally connect this up the battery, run this into your car, and then you're good to go. But what I would like to do is have this relay switched off the high beam on the Commodore. That makes it legal here in New South Wales. So for driving lights here in New South Wales, here in Australia, the driving lights need to have their own switch, which we've got that as part of the relay, but they also need to be switched with your high beam. So if your high beam is switched off, then the driving lights need to go off, switch it on, then they can come on. So what I think you'll find is they've just jumped the trigger input on this relay. What we'll need to do is get that, find that, and then run that to our high beam. Probably not going to be part of this video for the purpose of the video and purpose of the test. I like to do things out of the box as they are, rather than modifying them, because I'm aware that, you know, maybe not everybody's able to sort of modify things like that. So we're going to do this out of the box. So we'll literally connect this up to our battery. Literally, we're going to strip the harness out from the old lights. We're going to run this back through into the interior. We are going to put the switch on the dash, and then just mount those lights on the mounts that we've already got on the bonnet, because I quite like those there. Got a bit of feedback from the guys at work saying that they don't like them there, and I'm more than happy, like I said in the past, to be a little bit different, and I quite like the look of them up there anyway. For the purpose of getting these mounted, it's just going to be as simple as it can be. To give you a look at what's inside the box, you've got two of your pod lights. Now these are a 3-inch pod light. I think it's something around about 4,800 lumens, I think they say on these. Now, just looking at these, I would have suggested that these are a floodlight rather than a driving light. The only reason I say that is you can see the striping on the lenses themselves. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll check out that beam pattern. You've got black lens covers. So you've got some black lens covers that you can just pop on. Now that's really good and quite important. So if we're going to be using this for off-road use, so if we get pulled up by a copper or something along those lines, we can say that these are for off-road use, providing that we've got the lens cover on and they're not being used for on-road. I'm obviously going to be using these for on-road, so we'll see how we go. Black lens cover, and you've also got the inclusion of the amber lens cover, so that will come in handy in fog. Sometimes travelling to work at the morning, sort of 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I encounter quite a bit of fog on the freeway, the expressway, and it's nice to have the amber lights there as well. So that is probably going to be a nice addition. Other thing that I'm particularly liking, and a real good reason for taking those other lights off, is that the bracketry that comes with this is black, and it just feels much more substantial. That other stuff that we've got on the car currently is like it's meant to be stainless steel, but it just isn't, and you'll see why. With those other lights that are on the car, I'm actually going to pull that review. I think the review on those was fairly positive, but based on the mounts and how they have rusted out, that's not something that I want to promote on the channel. So I'm going to pull that review, and I'm going to communicate that with the supplier there as well. And whilst the beam pattern on this was okay, these have only been on here for a few months, and I think you can see the rust that has occurred with those brackets. The lights themselves have remained okay, but those brackets have just rusted, and that is the same on both sides. So I'm also looking at the mounts that I've got there, and clearly they haven't been immune from a rust either, so they're a little bit rusted here too, so I need to take a look at those. Now, I'm not sure if you can see down over the back, sort of a couple of roads away, I am only a few streets away from a saltwater lake, so that rust probably isn't generally indicative, but that was always going to happen. If it's gone like that, that was always going to happen. It's just going to take a little bit longer, but because I'm so close to the lake, probably a little bit of a torture test, I suppose. But these are painted black, and literally I think that's all they need to do, just paint them black and stop them from rusting. So that's a vast improvement in my mind, just from the get-go. And just, you know, these look like a really nice light as well. I have to believe that they're aluminium, cast aluminium frame. Now, if you follow the channel, you know that I've received lights and done reviews on a whole bunch of different lights, from just the LED globes for the car from Night Eye. We've had some Oxbeam stuff, we've had Co-Light stuff, a whole bunch of different brands, you know, whether it's been that I've purchased it for myself. I've had some eBay cheapies, whether I've purchased some Sunyi stuff, some eBay cheapies. So whether it's lights that I've purchased for myself and just put them on the cars, or whether they've been sent out to me for the purpose of review like this, I've had quite a variety of lights now on the Pajero. It's nice just to check out and see what else is out on the market. I am also quite aware that a lot of the Chinese stuff can be subpar, but I am also aware that they're doing better and better. So I'm hoping that Novsight is at the better end of that scale. Before they reached out to me, I wasn't really aware of their brand, so this is a new one to me. But since they've reached out, you know, looked at lots of reviews and checked out their website, etc, etc, they seem to be a legit company. You know, plenty of reviews on YouTube, not a massive amount. So that's why I'm more than happy to reach out. I don't always want to just reproduce the same content that's already out there. That said, sometimes that can't be avoided, but it's nice to have the opportunity to try something new. And if Novsight are doing a good job, I'm happy to say so. If they're not doing a good job, I'm happy to say so. So point is, let's take these out to the car, strip those Co-Light ones out, and we'll throw these on, and we'll see how they go. So as you can see from the Pajero behind me, I'm pretty much covered as far as lights go on the front of that. Ultimately, as much as I would love to throw these on the front of the Pajero, I just don't need them. I really need a set on the Commodore. If I was going to install these on the Pajero, I would have done them as like a ditch light type thing, and had them on the corner, installed them on the corner, and had them pointing out to the side. That being said, I've got enough spread from the light bar that we've got on here. I think this is an Oxbeam, and then we've got Oxbeam down here as well in the driving light, so they provide me plenty of light. What I really want to do is improve the lighting on the Commodore, because this is the one that goes to work with me. Country roads, an hour each way of a morning, sort of, you know, 5-6 o'clock in the morning. And that's when you've got kangaroos, and other animals, you know, coming off the side of the road at you. So I need as much light for that as possible, and these need to come off. I'm just going to pop the bonnet on the Commodore here. I'm going to get stuck into this. Just need to get those lights off, pull the harness, and then I'll be back when we're ready to run that new one. So what I've done is I've stripped out the old lights, and I've got the new lights sitting down here ready to go. Still not good enough, frankly, so they're coming off. I've got to have a look at the mounts that I had under those, because they've started to rust as well. I can't find the other ones, the new ones that I've got, so we're just going to have to go with those for the time being. So please ignore those when it comes to having a look at the mounting and stuff of the new Novsight lights. That part is not going to be the Novsight product. Just going to be specifically looking at the lights. What I want to do is just to show you how simple these are to mount. So if you're somebody that's not a particularly 12 volt savvy, you want to mount a set of lights and you want to know how to do it, I'm going to run you really quickly through the process, and there's not going to be that much to it. But what I'm going to try and do for the purpose of this review is just to give you a bit of an idea of how long it takes me to get these lights installed. Literally, all I need to do is make 2 contacts. Mine is going to be a little bit difficult, a little bit more complex, I suppose, than the normal, because the Commodore battery is at the back. If your battery is inside the bonnet area, which is pretty much standard, all you need to do is put that one on your negative of your battery, that one on your positive of your battery. Get them all mounted and whatever first. That's going to be your last step, getting this mounted up. You already have an inline fuse, so you've got some level of safety protection there. Run the 2 wires up to the lights, and then the other wire needs to go into the cabin, so in where you drive, basically. Can't tell you how to do that because every car is going to be different, but what you're looking for is roughly a rubber grommet. There's going to be, you know, a piece of rubber in the wall, and you'll see all the other wires going through it. You're going to try and squeeze this through that, and then you're going to reach up under the dash, and you're going to find where that's come through, and you're going to pull it through, and you're going to run that up to wherever you want that switch to be, whether it's down in the center console, whether it's up near your steering wheel, wherever you want, and you're going to stick that on double-sided tape. I am anticipating that double-sided tape being rubbish, so I've got more better double-sided tape inside. What you will do though, when you go to stick that through the firewall, is you're going to disconnect that switch at this point here. So that white piece is going to separate into 2 pieces, and it'll actually be this piece that you'll push through the firewall, because you'll see that's considerably smaller than the button. Once you've got that through and you've run it wherever you need it inside the car, then you'll come back along and connect that back up and then put your switch wherever you want it. Just makes things easier to get it through the firewall. It's going to roughly time myself how long it's going to take me from start to finish to getting these installed. So it is going to be a really basic, straightforward install. If I was looking to install these as a permanent thing, chances are I'm probably going to have some more lights turn up, and these might come off, and I might swap them out for something else. But for the purpose of review, obviously I'm going to keep the install very, very basic. We're going to do an out-of-the-box install, and we're just going to simplify the whole process. If I was doing the install for myself, I would make it more complex. Again, I would strip this relay down. I would find an input from my headlight switch for when I put it on high beam. I would wire that in, etc. I would probably use the positive coming from the battery over the back rather than using the fuse panel. Just a whole bunch of things I'd probably do slightly different. But again, I just want to show you how simple this install can be. What we do have though is an absolute mozza, an absolute mile of wire, which allows you to, I guess, mount these pretty much anywhere over the car. I guess you could probably roof mount these with this standard harness. If you've obviously got some other switching mechanism, like I've got the aux beam switch panel over the back of the Pajero, you could wire these straight into that. You may not even need to use this harness. It's now 10 to 5. I'm just going to take the old mount off the other one, and then I'm going to start the timer as such. Run through the install. You'll see little bits and pieces as we go, so that's going to add time. But we'll just see roughly how long it takes me to get these installed into the car. First thing we need to do is go and grab the lights and then get them mounted on the front of the car. So it is now exactly 10 to 5. Take out one light. Need to grab out some mounting bracketry. There's your bolt, screw and Allen key. Now, the test is going to be how well these survive if they rust like that other stuff. So if this is Chinese stainless steel, it's going to rust like that other stuff. I can't tell you, it looks reasonable quality, but I can't tell you without testing it. So they also give you a little lock washer as well, or a spring washer. And then we've got just 2 Allen key bolts, which are going to go through our bracket and into the side of the lights. Again, they've included spring washers with those. So they've given us an Allen key, which I think is probably about a 5mm, something along those lines. I'm also seeing in here is a small little Allen key. Now I don't know what that's for. Okay, it looks like it's going to go in to these Allen key bolts here on the front of the light. Now I don't know why they would supply you with that. I'm going to hit them up and ask why that's supplied. It's now 4:53. We've wasted 3 minutes. So, righto, grab our bracket. We are going to mount that down first. Right, so they're going to go like that with the foot facing forward. Again, I'll tighten this down reasonably, but not all the way, because we're going to want to be able to swing the lights, you know, in and out a little bit. But I want to tighten it down enough that it's not going to, you know, move too much on its own. So that is the lights mounted, and it really doesn't get much easier than that. It's ultimately 3 bolts of light, I suppose. The one that's going into the car, the vehicle, whether that's going into your bull bar, whether it's going into a mounting bracket, whatever the case may be. So you just need to put that through the brackets, supplied bracket, and then put your 2 bolts in either side of the light, and then tighten them up. So what we need to do now is run the harness of the one section that needs to go through to the interior of the car, and this is the section that needs to go to the battery. So whilst I'm going to my fuse box, it's going to be roughly in the same position that your battery would normally be. So what you want to do, I guess, is have this relay somewhere near, or certainly within this sort of distance, 30 centimeters I suppose, of your power source, and your battery in this case. This is going to be just here for me because I've got 2 tapper fuses here, because I've got a tapper fuse here that I'm going to use for the power source. I'm going to take that off and I'm going to solder that on, so that's going to be my power source. This one has to go to a ground, and in my case the ground is right here. Now the other benefit that I've got here is that I'm pretty much routing this the same way that I had the other one done, so kind of got a little bit of a benefit up my sleeve from, you know, having done this not that long ago. Again, we've got a grommet here. I'm just going to push this through and into the cab. I'm just going to snag some cable ties. I'm trying to throw these on here and there. So let's bring in for a look. So we've got the wires running, you can see, under the panel there, up to that light, from that light, and then down here. You can see we've still got a little bit here we could probably tuck away. There we go. And that comes down and across. Our ground is just down here, so we've got a bolt here, so we've grounded the chassis. This is our wires going up here for the switch, which runs around there and into the cab there. We'll give that a bit of a tidy up. There we go. And I've gone to a tapper fuse here, which is fused appropriately for these lights, and then I have cut and soldered the positive, which you would normally just connect to your battery. So there we go. So we've got our positive, our negative, we've run the wires. So as you can see here, probably, as you might be able to see here, I pulled this lower panel off, like the kick panel from the under the dash. It just clips out. Again, your mileage may vary, your car may be different, but hopefully you can see here, here's that wire that comes from that relay that we push through the firewall. That's now on this side. What I'm going to do now for testing is just to plug this in here. We just want to check and make sure that the lights physically work. Okay, that's interesting, and something I don't like is that when the lights are off, you've still got a little red LED here. I don't like that at all. Novsight, why would I want a light on when the lights are off? Alright, we definitely need to make sure that we've got something that is only switched when the car is on, because we don't want that little light to be on all the time. Alright, so both of those appear to be working, so that's good news. And my one concern about going driving lights rather than the spot that we had on the previous ones was, because I've got these mounted on the bonnet, I am concerned that I'm going to get some glare off these. Not going to be a fault of the light, it's going to be down to the beam pattern and my choice of beam pattern, but we'll have to have a look at those now. Reluctantly, I'm going to duck down in front and just see how bright these are. Yep, okay. Look, not as bright as the 9-inch lights that we've driving lights, obviously, that we've got on the front of the Pajero, but they're still putting out a good amount of light, and we'll figure that out when it gets night time to test them. But you can see that those are working, and it is now just going. I've got to get this bonnet up, stuck on my finger. So for the purpose of review, so for the purpose of seeing how long it was going to take me to install these, it is now 5:27. Obviously had to duck out, I patted the dog and playing around with shooting the video, and going to get those cable ties out of the shed, which I had to find. Took me a couple of minutes. So probably call it half an hour even, I reckon. Would probably be a fair would probably be a fair assumption. So I reckon half an hour even would probably be a fair assumption. Again, not happy about that little light being on when that light switch is in the off position. Why? If Novsight, whoever was responsible for that, Fairningham, and look, I know these are you're probably buying a generic harness. It's probably what that is, I'm guessing. But that's not good. So we're going to judge on the quality of the lights, but you're losing a point for that. Now, what we need to do now is wait for darkness to fall upon us. Once it does that, me and you'll take a drive and we'll see how they look, eh? See you soon. Okay, so that's our normal lights, and that's our high beam. You can see how average our high beam is, and then that's obviously our new lights. You can see they're going much further than the high beam, and just the way I've got them set, I could probably take that right hand one out to the right a little bit more, but it is giving me enough light on that right hand side. It's giving me enough light obviously in front of the car. It's clearly further out than the high beam, and the way I've got it adjusted, it's giving me a nice little bit of light off to the side there, as far as kangaroos etc go. So that's ultimately what I need these for, is, you know, when I'm going backwards and forwards to work and I'm on country roads that look like this, a bit more open, I need to be able to see kangaroos coming. So the high beam are just halogens. And obviously the colour tone as well, the colour temperature, quite a bit different. I possibly could lift them up a little bit, but I quite like where they are. They're giving me a nice light down in front of the car. You can see here, so we've got normal lights, high beam, and our driving lights. I can actually turn off our lights, and we just use our driving lights, which is not bad actually. And you can see they are quite a focus beam. I mean, set up correctly, you probably could just use these as normal lights. You can see they're a fairly flat beam, which is working good for the driving light, because they're giving me a little bit of a spread either side, but enough to cover the center of the road there as well. So I can still get enough spread left and right, as you can see there, to be able and still cover the center of the road. I think I still have them dipped a little bit, but I don't mind that, because it's bringing the pattern down more in front of the car, which is, you know, where we want the light. It's a little bit breezy, so I've got to be careful up here, just in case some of these trees are dropping their branches. But that's our normal lights, high beam, and our driving lights. Yeah, they're doing a real good job of yeah, just spreading out that little bit, give me more vision on the side of the road, which is, you know, obviously where kangaroos and things are going to be coming from, wildlife. But I've got to tell you, for the size of them, I mean, you know, my old Nava, I don't know, what were they, 75 watt halogens, 100 watt halogens or something? I mean, the light output on these is certainly comparable. I don't know what the output on these is meant to be, but yeah, you would have had, back in the halogen days, you would have needed to have a 7-inch, maybe a 9-inch light to put out this amount of light. Here we've got light off both sides. There is more light closer to the car than actually is showing up on camera, I think. Okay, so I've just dropped the lights just a little bit to bring them in a little bit closer. It should be a bit more obvious once we go down this hill here. But looking at the camera, it looks like they're, I guess, a lot more focused probably than they are. Looks like the fall off is quite sharp, but it's not as sharp as it appears to be on camera. Even with the big driving lights that I've got on the Pajero. They're very sharp as far as certainly the center focus, but these are quite good. And there's a good choice. I think it's Jinmin, I think his name is. Good choice, mate. Thank you very much. As far as, you know, which ones to go with, I think you made a good choice. So I think if you're looking for a set of these and you're looking for, I guess, what I've been after, a little bit of spread, but I still want that light out the front, the driving light, which is the beam pattern here, I think is definitely a good choice. I think I like them just riding just a little bit higher. Yeah, that's better. Now that doesn't look quite as good. So if I put the high beam on, that certainly fills it out, which is what I'm going to do. I've got some LED lights to go into these for the high beam, so we'll get that sorted out. And these will just give me that little bit of extra distance, that little bit of spread that I'm after, but a nice combination with the high beam. Just to give you an idea of the tree line, probably 300 to 400 meters away, maybe. Yeah, I'd say 300 to 400 meters. So that's our normal lights, high beam, driving lights, and that tree line's giving you a good idea of spread, I think. Yeah, you can see that. That's good. Hopefully you can see we get a little bit of rain there as well. Now I can just touch that light and you can see that's dipping out, so I don't know how long. I guess the biggest disappointment with these lights is that switch. Now I've got to remember to dodge this bloody pothole. Righto, so let's do a wrap up of these lights. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm sort of in a bit of a bush type scenario. I thought this would be a bit more interesting than standing in the front yard. But you can hear those cicadas in the background, no doubt. Hopefully you can hear me pretty well. Now, I don't know if you know cicadas if you're not from Australia, but they'll cycle. They'll get louder and louder and louder, and then they'll drop off. And then they'll come back again. So let's get this done. So I'm really happy with the lights. One thing I have to keep reminding myself, there they go. One thing I need to keep reminding myself about these lights is that they're not 9-inch driving lights. They're just not. And having that expectation, like the lights that I've got on the front of the Pajero, when I hit those lights with the big light beam and those big driving lights, it basically makes daylight in front of the car for, you know, over a kilometre. These aren't those sort of lights, so you have to have reasonable expectations for them. For their size and their form factor, I think they do a really good job. They're a nice supplement to your high beam. They're going to go that little bit further than your high beam, and they're going to be a bit better spread than your high beam, which is exactly what I want on the front of this car. Because the beam is fairly narrow and fairly flat, when I originally had these mounted on the car, without putting this additional part in the mount, they were sloped with the bonnet and they were down like this. And what that did was threw the light sort of up in the air and down at one side. So if you're going to be putting these on, and however you're looking at using them, you need to make sure that they're flat. If they're up on an angle or something like that, that beam pattern's just going to be a bit awkward and it's not going to work real well. So make sure you got them flat. Okay, we're back home and I've received an email from Novsight just in response to my queries. Not quite the response that I was hoping for, but I'll give you the information anyway. As far as the red light staying on the switch, the response I got was, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. I'm not good with that. That's not a good response. In relation to the little Allen key, it was just a case of if you want to dismantle the unit, it's there to be used. So still didn't really explain to me why you would want to dismantle it or for what reason you would want to do that they would feel the need to supply the kit, but it's there. So if you feel the need to pull your lights apart, it's there. And the other thing they've done is they've set me up with a 20% discount code. So if you were to purchase these using that link, I would get a 10% kicker as well. So again, not here to try and sell your stuff. But if I can get you a discount and I've got to go through that affiliate stuff, I'm willing to go and do that. And of course, you know, if I get $5 or something at the end of 12 months or whatever, so be it. If you don't want to use that link, I believe they currently have a 15% sale on, which I think is across the website. So it's only worth 5% to you. Your call. Your call if you want to do it that way. Again, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but if you can get an extra discount, we might as well. On with the show. You can see there, I did find the new bracketry and I have replaced that old rusty stuff. I mean, these are the exact same ones out of the same set, so no doubt these are going to rust as well, and I'll be looking at other options. Been on for nearly a month now, and we don't have any rust or anything going on there at all as yet. Again, because this has all been, you know, powder coated or whatever the case may be. And I don't expect those lights to show any sign of rust anyway, because they're also powder coated. My first Novsight product, they've only been on the car about a month. I've been happy with the results thus far, and providing that they continue like that, I can't tell you whether they will or they won't, but overall positive experience. So that's the Novsight Cyber 1 3-inch pod lights in the driving beam pattern. Again, this channel's not about selling your stuff. Don't care whether you go out and buy these or not. I'm just sharing my experience, showing you a new product, in the hope that it might just be something of interest to you. There you go. Anyway, that's it. Thanks very much for stopping by, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.